wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quite so thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic, but there's logic, you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic.
Built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. No, never stop competing, yeah.
I've been doing this, I'm on it, I just wanna be iconic. Sipping on a gin and tonic, got me going off when I'm on this topic, yeah. If I ever play, I want it, you know that I'm always honest. Stay away from those who are toxic, keep them out your face, no way, you don't want it, yeah. Don't try to drain my energy, the enemy is everything. It's mentally, unhealthily, spreading like a rare disease. But I won't let it get to me, I don't need your therapy. I can leave a legacy of leading by intensity. Come on, we can fight this, freedom is priceless. Spread just like a virus, living in a crisis. Do you feel courageous? Do you seek greatness? Trust me, you can take it, go on and take your aim, yeah.
Built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. No, never stop competing, yeah.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
When we get to the FBI, we don't know who did the work. You heard that any of that information is redacted. We don't know who did the work. It's a giant secret. We know that by the time the FBI gets involved, the profile, the text file, that's a snip to use to try to identify somebody is more than twice as big when it gets to the FBI from Othram. We don't know how.
I've got an itch I can't scratch, I'm missing a piece that completes a whole part of me, an open wound scar to see. Everybody come here, gather round, welcome to the freak show, the best in town.
What is going on, Hive? I hope that everybody had a wonderful weekend and is having a relaxing Sunday. What a way to end the week. And I'm very, very excited for this stream. Thank you all for tuning in and spending your Sunday evening here in the Hive. Got the audio coming in loud and clear. This is going to be one of those streams, Hive. We're going to build off of yesterday talking about why this case makes no sense. And we're going to talk about it from a 40,000 foot view and then drill down into it. You guys saw the on-screen disclaimer. If you're an NPC, get out while you still can. Because this will not be a stream for the simple-minded, I can tell you that much. But before we get into it, I want to go ahead and say hello to everybody. What's going on, Ronnie? B is for Becca. Dino in the hizzy for shizzy. What's up, Haley Muckfuss? Shout out to my mod, Luna Bliss. Jamie waited all day to wreck my brain. LFG. I love it. Scram NPCs. That's right, Robin. Shout out to my other mod, Chantilly Lace with the resting biatch face. Divine Leah is tuning in from the Hive Down Under, reporting for duty. Gabby girl, what's going on? April Rain Showers, good to see you as always. Essie, how are you doing tonight? Keep Robin in check. Zero simps will be allowed. Grammy T already starting off with a top dog comment. This is the energy that we need this evening. Lego Core, Carrie Scott, Davina Duvall, Brooke waited all day. So did I. What's going on, Ames? Yes, this is the Hive Mind. What do they call that for hypnotizing? The pendulum. It's probably a very obvious name that I'm now drawing a blank on. But yes, we are hypnotizing normies to wake up, rather, instead of being hypnotized by the mainstream media for them to go into a deep slumber and just allow them to be manipulated and controlled at all costs. When they have any emotional uptick, they can't logically think. So we are going to do the opposite here. Dina's tuning in from Kansas. UK Karen's in the house. Y'all only know me as Mitty Witty. I love it. That is a villain origin story. Tiny, what's going on? Main sunk media. Exactly right. Steph, 1488. It's been a minute. Well, thank you for tuning in. Chelsea's in Brisbane. Where is everybody else tuning in from? Gang Hive. What's up, Crown? Laundry night here in Maine. Love it. Kelly King. What up? We got Kentucky. Scotland. Texas, Berdino's basement, Chicago, Ohio, Sacramento, California, under the tinfoil hat in Albuquerque, Texas, South Dakota, Indiana, Ontario, Canada, sad in Pittsburgh, what the heck, Alabama, War Eagle, Pennsylvania's in the Hive, Ohio, Smokelahoma here, state of confusion, Louisiana, Buffalo, Texas, South Carolina, Missouri, ATX. You're hiding under your bed for this one, Discord Dawn says. Yeah, well, I don't blame you. Amanda B from West Virginia. Lori's in Naples. You got Rado, Spokane. You're flipping the last load of laundry in Florida. Love it. Criddle, how you doing? Donna Speaks Truths in Florida. Monkey Lady 86 is in Denver. North Kakalaki. That's funny. New York City, Hilton Head, Cali, Georgia, New Jersey. Crime Spy says, what's up to Gina? Well, actually, yep, go Dogs. I love it, JoJo. Well, let's get into it, Hive, shall we? Now, if you were in the live yesterday, or if you had a chance to tune into the replay, you'll remember that we talked about this gentleman whose picture is in the center of the screen, which is Nicholas Mowich, who is deceased. I have put together a theory, working with you all, taking in other creators' information, and I have done my best today to try and not solve the Idaho 4 case as to who did it, but this theory I put together was to try and, quote, solve why this makes no sense. And a lot of it is based off of this right here in the upper right corner, which is, was the Idaho 4 killer or killers already dead. And I can just see the sheep just giving me the death stare. You're a conspiracy theorist. Well, right there, sheep. That's what I have to say to you tonight, because we're going to be using our brains and we're not afraid to do it. And this chat is the best and number one contrarian thinking live stream on the internet. I'm convinced of it, and you can't tell me otherwise. So let's go ahead and get into it. I got to plug the channel real quick. If you have not hit subscribe, please go ahead and press that button. Swipe down on the chat, press the like, press subscribe. That's the best way to support the stream. When you are on my YouTube channel, if you press this 6 more links right here, I got the website, my TikTok, Discord, Substack, Facebook, and Instagram. So if you do use those apps, give your boy a follow on those as well. That would be great. Help spread the word. And out of any of these, if you do join one, I would say download the Discord app prior to joining our Discord. So go to Google Play Store or the App Store, download Discord, and then click that link. And that's where I get the YouTube question of the day from, as well as the Hive Mind finds, which we are going to be moving on right now to the Discord question of the day. And shout out to Amanda B for this epic art, and also UFO Dog. They've made, there's other people that have put it in there too, in the Hive art section on the Discord. I thoroughly enjoy looking at that. And I had to kind of remove the backgrounds, but these were actually done as if they were tattoos. And this one, I was cackling, laughing at this. Killed in their sleep. Not that they were killed in their sleep. That's not what I'm laughing at. Just the fact that someone's brain worked that way. So shout out to you guys. And we have the reptilian overlords being the middlemen who are running Othram that are going to try to convict us before a crime's ever committed, because we've all spit into a tube to see if we are part Viking, and they scrambled our brains with the COVID swabs and probably sold it off to federal agencies so that they can frame us for any crime that they want to put it bluntly. Oh, Hive. This is the first day as well. This is at 0%. So I will do this. It is done. No, this will be the first stream that I will not be vaping on. So God help me. God help me. But we're going to give it a try. And I'm honestly, I'm motivated by the chat. And I know there's a lot of people in here that do vape. So if you guys are thinking about it, why not right now? Why not do it as a collective group? So I do have a Zin in though. And I saw in the comments somebody recommended Neurogum. So I got that as well. Dawn said, I knew I needed to hide. I gotta get used to talking with this damn thing in my lip. I don't know how. I used to dip in college. It's been years. So if I sound a little bit weird, that's why. And now it moved out of place. I'm a rookie at zinning. All right. Nonetheless, let's get into the Discord question of the day. And that is coming to us this evening from Northern Light. And they had asked, do you think BK knows who set him up and why? And I absolutely do. If I had to bet $1 million, which obviously I do not have $1 million, but if I had $1 million and I had a chance to double it up by betting if Brian Koberger did the crimes or Brian Koberger is playing a role and he's aware of the role he's playing, I would risk that $1 million to double it up and have $2 million. Because I fully think that Brian knows exactly why he is in the position he is in. I think that it is by design, and I believe that he's going along with it. And I found this this logo on the internet, which is the Inside Job Agency. And that's who I believe, which is obviously a made-up agency. But I believe that he 100% knows that the powers that be are putting him here to be a public-facing figure. Yeah, he's way too smart to not, let's be honest. Even on like the simplest level right there, I agree, Davina. Type of 1 if you would take that bet. would you guys try to double up your $1 million? Are you that confident in it? Or would you just say, no, I don't want to double it up. I'll just take the $1 million. This is not financial advice. And this is hypothetical. So I'm sure there's probably at least one person in here that's going to type a 2 because they're like, I'll just take the $1 million. I don't care. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I would too, Stone. It's not an option, UFO dog, but I appreciate the consistency. You got a couple 69s in here. That's hilarious. Gotta love juvenile humor. So that's kind of the just the short answer to the Discord question of the day is yes, I absolutely do believe Brian knows who set him up and why. And now moving on to the Hive Mind finds, which I thought that this Power to the Collective wasp was badass. It's got like a gas mask on it. These are all so cool too. So keep those coming in the Hive art section. This and the next slide is from Susie Q. And this looks like a first person point of view video out in Moscow near the house. So I'm going to go ahead and let this play.
Here would be the back.
Isn't it weird you never see people out and walking around on the streets? Like we've seen a few videos like this. It's just like, is this even real? Is this even a real place, or is this like just like a set? I say that somewhat facetiously, but facetiously. Can never pronounce that word. Did you never see anybody walking around? They're hungover. Yeah, it's only real when we get there. That's absolutely right. And action. DM start crying. Right on cue, Brandon, with that comment. And then here's another video of them driving. I had to mute this because their radio was on. I didn't want to get a copyright strike, so this one is muted. It's still just so weird the house got torn down. Well, it's not weird, and it won't be weird after we explain it this evening, but this is not necessarily showing anything specifically, Miss Anonymous. I just thought it was interesting that somebody went there and recorded video and sent it into the Discord. So 2 short clips. I was going to see if there was like cameras that we could see now, but this is obviously present day. It's not back in 2022. So that's why I ended up just showing it and not doing a deep dive on it. But okay. Gems Freak 52. Top dog. This is wild. So they said, I found something interesting in the Moscow PD body cam from 11/13/2022. I wondered about the 2 sticky notes with what was assumed indicators of where Ethan and Xana could be found. But I think what they were covering. But I think I found what they were covering. I will attach the 2 stills that I grabbed from the video. So if you remember, there was sticky notes that had said Ethan and Xana, and then they had found a picture without those sticky notes covering it. And I'll make this full screen. What does that look like, Hive? Of course they're going to cover it with sticky notes. And I will still refer back to that Moscow PD or the ISP report saying that some dude took his uncle's ATF jacket, walked in and said it looked like someone deer hunted in that house, and all the victims were double tapped. They were not stabbed. So right where my camera is right now, you guys can see examples of a 9mm hole. I don't know I don't know what type of round was used, but it is interesting that they covered those up. That is not done by a knife. So these are obviously just examples, but it looks pretty close. Would you guys agree? Those are exit. Yep. So here's an exit hole, and then these are entry. So you can see in this right here, this, even with it blurry, you can see how the wall is kind of coming out. Yep, it's blown out. Oh, Maddie and Xana's name. Yeah. Yeah. They were shot. It's what their own parents said in an interview sitting on a couch. So keep this in mind when we go into what they are covering up. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about this. If you're into the psychic stuff. Yeah, I guess it could be done by a picture mount, but they were covered up. I'm just saying, with how many rumors there were about them being shot and the house and the party got shot up. I mean, shit, I'm starting to think with how messy that house was, there was a party there that night. Who knows? We heard a ton of shit going on. That is exactly right, Robin. A lot of the stuff we heard in the beginning was the truth, and they quickly pivoted away from it. They did not solve this case. Say it with me, Hive. They did not solve this case. They sealed this case. They did not solve it. They sealed it. Very simple. And now I am going to get into the theory for this evening, which is, again, why I believe that this makes no sense. This is a culmination of ideas from yesterday's live with the chat, and also Jay and Bree are also known as Pavarotti's theory on Nicholas Mowich. And I believe that we can put the dots, or we can connect the dots together when it comes to how we got to Brian Koberger and why this case is just a dog shit investigation, to put it simply. And I think we can follow damn near every step. And I'm going to go through this. I will check in with the chat occasionally after each slide to get your guys' thoughts. So I will continue to keep an eye on the chat. But let's go back to this first press conference here with Chief Fry. These are some quotes from it. There is no threat to the community, yet there was no suspect, no weapon, and there was no arrests. The roommates were asleep, but one of them saw the suspect. The 911 call was made 8 hours later, yet described as unconscious, not murder. The bodies were, quote, found in bed, but were there defensive wounds or blood trails, and was somebody laying in the doorway? And the victims were, quote, targeted, but no elaboration, no signs of forced entry. Meanwhile, again, no suspect, no weapon. This murder wasn't messy college chaos, and the cops knew it. The press conference was done to act as a shield, not a sword. Okay, I will say that again. This press conference was a shield, not a sword. So, just to frame everyone's mindset, again, these are quotes from that press conference. Now, I guess there's really not too much to elaborate on this one with the Hive as far as theories and ideas. But this is what I want to get into. Okay. So I'm going to make this full screen. Now, step one, the crime occurs on November 13th, 2022. Multiple perpetrators, likely 2 to 3. The scene was handled surgically, minimal trace, fast timeline, cleanup occurs. One perpetrator, being Mawich, in this theory, okay, this is a theory, is injured, and then he eventually dies, but maybe by a defensive victim. And we know Xana fought like hell back. Step 2, this is where the cover-up begins, Hive. Mawich, and I don't know why that says stepfather. Is Mawich's son his son or is his stepson? Because maybe that's where I was going with that when I was typing this out earlier today. Nonetheless, this should say Mawich. I'll change it right now, actually. Son, okay. All right. Okay, it's his son. Thank you, guys. All right, so step 2 is when the cover-up begins. All right. Mawich is taken to the hospital under a, quote, car accident cover story. The staff sees through it, submits the tip to the FBI. The FBI runs DNA, and it connects to the IgG profile. The match hits Mawich family line. Well, Mawich died on November 19th, 2022, 6 days after the murder. Okay? He died 6 days after the murder. The funeral service date was on December 3rd, 2022. So now, when I hear Middleman saying that she went up to Mrs. Chapin and she said, we got him. We had his DNA within 5 days. I believe she was able to say that because of that DNA being Mawich's, not Brian Kohberger's. This is a giveaway that Brian Kohberger is the public-facing patsy. She was talking about Mawich. That's why she's allowed to say that, because they knew he was going to die, or if not already dead. So if he gets into the hospital on the 15th and he dies on the 19th, well, then on the 5th day, that would be the 20th, when he's dead, or when they could probably get that, if not that same day. So then they're going into crisis management mode. Okay, so Mawich is going to expire on November 19th. No public disclosure. The FBI and the local police department are starting to panic because the narrative needs a live body for the public acceptance. They'll never, from a public acceptance standpoint, they're not going to believe that, oh, yep, the guy died, when it's 4 people, and it's just going to be like, whoa. They need the narrative around it. They need to make the public feel safe. They can't say he's dead. We don't know anything about him. We're not going to tell you about him, because if we do say his name, you're going to be like, holy shit, he's connected with, some sort of gang affiliation, and they put out a hit on college kids. Who knows why? But this is when it is decided that Kohberger is going to become the constructed patsy. Now, this is where my theory takes kind of this is where maybe you need some tinfoil, but I do believe that this is what is happening right here. This is where they start to build the case law, is what I'm referring to it as. That is when the IgG evidence is going to be used as a launch point, and it's not going to be disclosed fully in the public filings like we saw. Kohberger's trial is going to get delayed indefinitely with multiple evidence suppression debates in court. Meanwhile, we are going to have the media run cover for us, and they are going to blast DNA match 24/7. Why? Because this gives the DOJ and the FBI cover to push for broader IgG application in future investigations. Exactly, Sherlock. It's a secret investigation because of national security, but it's also an isolated incident. That's a tinfoil hypocrisy. That's funny, dude. So, conviction for the masses. They now face a choice. Okay? Let's say that the real guy died in the hospital. And let's say they have no surviving known suspects at this point. Okay? They have two choices. They can either go and say that that guy died, or they can frame a guy, being Brian Kohberger, use the real suspect's DNA to, quote, anchor the crime and keep the IgG machine moving. Well, what do you think they're going to choose? they're going to choose door number 2 all day because the FBI is already lobbying for IGG admissibility in court. And I'm going to go over those numbers. And it really ramped up in 2018, and they kicked it off with the Golden State Killer cold case. They have not slowed down, Hive. So here is their strategy that I believe that they went through. Okay. So as I've said, the suspected killer being Mowich, Nicholas Mowich, dies. The FBI pulls the DNA from the crime scene. And I want everybody to kind of picture this timeline. Okay. So the crime occurs. Mowich is injured. He goes to the hospital under the guise of a car accident. Staff sees right through it. They're like, this is sketchy as hell. Submit a tip to the FBI saying, I think this might be connected to the murders in Idaho. So the FBI goes and they're obviously pulling DNA from the crime scene, whether that be the knife sheath or it's under the victim's nails. They're going to run it through GED match, family tree DNA, or some other forensic genealogy network. They end up getting a direct hit on a familial line. And remember, this is what's interesting now. No paperwork would be required to obtain a grand jury indictment since the suspect is now deceased. This is why I fully believe this. This is why they never disclosed the full lab chain of custody for the DNA match, because it didn't go through traditional channels because Mowich was dead. That, to me, makes a whole lot of sense on why we're not seeing it. And it also points in Kohberger being the public-facing patsy. Now, I'm going to pause there. I see a couple people that asked, who is Mowich, Nicholas Mowich? That is probably going to be a little bit difficult for me to explain outside of crediting Pavarotti with that theory and tracking it back to a couple of police reports that Farley had previously been a confidential informant, the ICU Farley, that guy that everybody talks about, and had talked about somebody who was in a car accident with 2 feet broken. And that led Pavarotti to discover Nicholas Mowich, who has a son on campus that lives very close to the King Roadhouse. Now, right, correct. And all the top area knights were at the guy's funeral. Yep. Which his funeral is online, by the way. You can watch his service. So I don't know if Mowich had 4 brothers, but that would blow my mind. I know that they say he's survived by his son, obviously. They also found blood in his son's house, and he borrowed his son's car. That's right, Mike. And his son's initials are JS. And here everybody is thinking that meant Jack Showalter. Not true. Might not have been Jack Showalter. So a lot of people are saying he's got brothers too. Holy hell. That's crazy. That is crazy. And Truth for Dad said, does anyone think Mowich is taken out? Hell yeah, I think he was taken out. Or I think they messed him up. You know what I mean? For all we know, they're saying Xana fought back. Who's to say that Xana didn't stab his ass and try to kill him right back if he was in there attacking them and maybe got an artery? I don't know. I have no idea. But I do know that the hospital staff saw right through saying this was a car accident because the injuries were not consistent with the car accident at all. So, but I do think that this was the start of why they chose to never disclose the full lab chain of custody. And this is some of the numbers about IGG. Okay. So since 2019, the IGG case usage has tripled. The FBI tripled their IGG case usage, or their IgG case and usage since 2019. Their lobbying budgets rose to $60 million or more annually. Kohberger and the Idaho 4 is the case being used to set the precedent. And so the final summary, or the whole damn puzzle, is that this was a professionally executed murder where one suspect got injured and died. The FBI used IgG to trace the family, realized they had no living perpetrator to prosecute, and then they decided to build a fall guy out of a lonely academic, being Kohberger, who fit the public psychological archetype of a killer. And everything else, the crime scene, the cameras being shitty, the witnesses getting silenced, the surveillance being wiped, court systems are stalled and redacted, and the victims' families are pacified, that all gets taken care of. Just check, 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 check. It's ultimately a premeditated framing. And so now I was anticipating some questions in regards to, well, what about if there was other people there? And there's a couple of possibilities. I want to hear what the Hive lays out there. So what do you guys think, assuming there was 2 or 3 other perpetrators, or 2 or 3 total people that carried this out? What do you guys think happened to them? What do you think the cops did? Like, do you think they went free? Do you think that, they were investigated? What do you guys think happened? Yeah. For a hospital staff person to call the police because he looked like he did, they obviously could tell. Cryptic Conversion says you think the cops were in on it. Now, do you think they were in on the cover up, or do you think the FBI told them, like, hey, we're not going after him. We're going to use this. We're going to do this behind the scenes? A lot of people are saying the cops are in it. I think they're freed and probably still working with the cops. How would they benefit with a patsy narrative if the real perp was already deceased? I don't get it. And that's what I'm going to try to explain shortly, Sherlock. And as people are coming in, with their theories here, cops were in from the jump. The Area Knights and Aryan Brotherhood owns Moscow. Cops participated. Author marketing. He was hurt. They had to take him to the hospital, so they took him out. Cops are part of the corruption. In on the cover-up, judging from the altered video. Man, if there's ever been a time for me to have the ability to lay something out clearly and try to gather these thoughts in my brain when I was typing this out and be able to speak them into this mic so that they come through the speaker and get into your brains, I hope that I can do it. Not because it's 100% guaranteed to be right, but I want to be able to articulate it so that we can have the conversation and theorize about it. So going back to Sherlock's question of how do they benefit by just having a patsy? And yeah, money, Palantir, data mining, I guess those are 2 good reasons. Plus they benefit from the lone wolf narrative in like 10 different ways. Exactly. But I believe that I don't think that it's a stretch to think that law enforcement most likely identified accomplices. And rather than arrests being made, deals were cut. Could be because they were already prior informants. Maybe they're minors, they're family of influential people. Who knows? But in this theory, already starting from Malwich is dead, they're going to put Kohberger in the spotlight as the public-facing conviction patsy. A quiet resolution behind the scenes is way more valuable to the FBI, to the community, to the local law enforcement, to the court system. Okay? I'm trying to explain how you're not just if you want the cleanest cover up from a narrative standpoint, you're not just going to, manage the witnesses and remove the bodies. You're going to delay the trial, seal the evidence. There's gag orders slapped on defense attorneys. There's no, crazy media coverage in the court. It's just one shit grainy camera. And everybody involved in this is now a chess piece for a narrative. They could not let this become a web of multiple killers, a dead suspect, and a cover-up involving maybe the university surveillance going dark at the time of the murders. And who did they pay off to have that happen if that was a part of the hit? Possible drug or trafficking implications, and survivors who didn't call for 8 hours. So they picked Kohberger, shut the door, burned the evidence, and dared the public to ask questions. The other suspects were not missed. I believe they were erased. I don't think that I do think that when you look at it in this light, you start to question, were the roommates acting strange or were they under federal pressure? Was the case mishandled or was it managed exactly how it was designed to? We're looking at it and we're obviously saying, dude, this is mishandled. But you have to remember, these people, they are not dumb people. They play dumb. They might play dumb. They might act dumb. They know exactly what they're doing with running this lone wolf narrative. Because if you would have had to, if you had a web of suspects come out, I would say that, oops, I'm going to go to this one. If you had a web of suspects comes out and it's like, well, we have one dead suspect, but there might be others. And you say, okay, so who helped him? Well, that would force them to reveal either more IgG usage. It would require further surveillance disclosure, and it could risk unraveling this entire operation. So they shut it down. The investigation didn't fail, Hive. I think it was deliberately ended. It was deliberately ended when Mowich died. Mowich dies. The press conference is the next day after 4 days of nothing. The first 48 didn't exist in the Idaho 4, it seems like. So Mowich goes into the hospital. They know he's not going to make it. Chief Fry puts on a press conference the next day for the first time. And then 5 days later, Middleman, the Othram chick, told Stacey Chapin, don't worry, we got him. They are inserting Brian Kohberger's name for the real perps. And we have to be able to keep this in mind, Hive. This is not how a college town stabbing would look like. This is deliberately sealed off. And it was a faux investigation. I'm not saying that the ISP docs don't have real interviews or that the MPD docs don't have, X, Y, and Z in it. Because I don't believe that the entire police department was in on this saying, yep, we're running this investigation. I think there really only had to be a couple people at the top that really started to steer their way towards Kohberger. Like the FBI's tip. And then, even though there was people talking about how there was a sketchy car around their house, like within days on Reddit and in the public, they didn't find Kohberger's car for almost a month until after they got this tip. So Othram breaks the gag order. It's not, whenever I start to theorize, I'm going to slow down here. When I theorize like this, I am not justifying these actions in any way. I think it's bullshit. And I'm a big like open source believer when it comes to atrocities that are committed in our public, in our community. They should have open source investigations, fully transparent. We're adults. We can decide if we want to look at it. But I'm really trying to get the point across that if the killer was already dead, put yourself in Ellie's and the FBI shoes. You're not going to just say he was already dead, especially when there could be other accomplices out there. You're going to have Kohberger eat up the media, and you're going to use it to lobby for IgG, because for all we know, Mawich's DNA on the sheath, they used Othram Labs to do that, and they didn't need the paperwork, and the FBI could do it because he's dead. So I think you have to understand there is a larger strategy at play here. And I'm looking at some of the comments right now, because I think like at a certain point, this turns into a strategic like forensic operation followed by a narrative control campaign is what we watched. And that is built ultimately to change the legal rules around surveillance DNA. You're going to use a dead man's IgG and sacrifice a living man's freedom at the cost of progress. You know, it's a theory. Again, this is a theory. This is a theory. That's what we're doing here. But I just believe that a lot of stuff starts to make sense about the investigation if this gentleman right here who passed away, they didn't do a press conference until that happened. I don't think that's a coincidence that from him going to the hospital to the press conference happening to middleman telling Stacey Chapin they had Kohberger's DNA after 5 days. That all lines up to it just points to Kohberger applying for the Pullman Police Department internship or possibly being a low-level CI. And, you know, they're sealing everything and he might be going into WITS. Like, who knows? Yeah, it's the worst investigated crime in history. It's got to be. I agree with George Webb when he says that. It just doesn't follow the natural feeling of what a high-profile homicide typically does. And it's so redacted. Everything is redacted. When did that happen, Sherlock? What are you referring to? Yeah, and I do wonder if it. So let's talk about this. Wicca blank shady. Let's talk about this, because you said in reality the case has ritualism and numerology. It does. I don't think that it's a stretch that it could all line up perfectly, because maybe the people who are creating the narrative are in the FBI and they're like, we need to make this look like Brian Kohberger as real as it can get. Criminology student, loner, obsessed with serial killers. Let's have the narrative revolve around that. Well, what goes into serial killers? Well, a lot of them are ritualistic, occultish. And there's also some truth with like Odinism and that type of numerology that goes into it. So I don't think that that's a stretch that if they were creating and crafting a narrative, yeah, they could have done it to fool us. They sold it. Like, guys, here's what I would say. I know this is the Hive, but let me ask you guys this question. If we had to do an exercise, let's just frame it as an exercise. Somebody handed us a packet of papers and said, this is what happened. One of the suspects died. We used IgG and got his DNA. However, we don't have leads on anybody else. We're going to be pursuing them. But in the meantime, we need to get the public some public-facing conviction so that everybody can feel safe. And we can close this and get it into the court system to eat up the media and the headlines. So if anybody else is involved in this, they think that we got the wrong guy and they're scot-free. They might mess up. If that's the exercise that we're doing, do you think that here in the Hive right now, we could construct a narrative to look real as hell? We would say, okay, who is the guy that we are going to have to put as the public face? His name's Brian C. Koberger. Okay. Give me what's his file? Brian C. Koberger, he's a criminology PhD student, just transferred out here from DeSales University. He worked with Dr. Ramsland, a renowned psychologist who studied the brain of serial killers. We've worked with her in tracking down the PTK. He got out here this last summer, and he had applied for a Pullman Police Department internship. Okay. What's he like? Well, he doesn't really know anybody. He's awkward. He might have level 1 of autism. And I need you to craft a narrative so that the public eats it up every night. I think we could absolutely, I would almost bet we could come up with a better story than the narrative they put in our face. Let's try to do that. So if we had to craft a narrative around a patsy and we're going to run with a lone wolf narrative, what else would we do that they didn't? Yeah, like the FBI can work with them. It's like that is the truth. Like Brian really is the perfect patsy. Guys, it's just like they're putting his selfies up there saying creepy and all that. Again, it's a theory as to why this would potentially make no sense. But, and did Sherlock answer that question? Oh, I missed it. Here it is. So you said in the first weeks, MPD body camera was released where a Fox reporter told an officer he was being stalked and threatened by an anonymous end user, alias Batman, right after the second presser. Wow. Well, that's weird. Right, but if Mowich is dead and the code is hit, I'm trying to say there's a reason why, like, what good is Mowich to their investigation if he's dead? Is ultimately the simple question. Yeah, he wrote his own story, for God's sakes, in a paper that was graded. Brian Koberger did it. That's wild. No interrogation footage, no jailhouse footage, absolutely zero. And yeah, sure, like I was thinking that same thing as you said that, like just guessing Nick might be the Batman. And yeah, the fact that they continue to force that he's such a creeper monster narrative on us, the less I believe it. If he's guilty, he's guilty. There's no reason to continue to build a monster story. It never fit. You're right. 1111. The lone wolf story never fit. Multiple attackers explains the timeline, the dog, the exits. It's the goat theory for when they needed a patsy. It's always the lone wolf. So, yeah, and it plays out time and time again. Isn't it funny how it's like One guy did this, just one. Nobody else. They kept their mouth shut the entire time. They probably got no help from anybody that maybe drove them there or got them the weapons or disposed of the weapons or helped them clean up, you know. And let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you this. Let's say, let's go back to the Idaho forest. So let's go back to the day of the press conference. So the 16th, November 16th, 2022. Let's say that buddy boy Chief Fry here gets up there and he says, we have reason to believe that the perpetrator who committed this atrocity is now deceased. And we are going to be investigating into the motive and how they did it, what they did it, what was the connection, yada, yada, yada. Can we be honest with ourselves? Do you guys think we would buy that? Do you think that we would buy it was one guy, he's dead, never going to go to trial? And I don't know. I feel like we would all probably question it the same way we're kind of questioning this case right now. Yes, and Rhonda, top dog. Because it's ultimately that simple. I just can picture a boardroom. I can just picture a boardroom of us saying like, well, maybe we should do it this way. And then just like the head suit, he goes, I don't care if it fits. This is what we are selling them. And I don't care if they buy it or not, but we are going to repeat it until it becomes their truth. There are enough NPCs that do not think freely, and we will get the media on board. We'll hit up our old buddy James Patterson to write a fiction book about it, and we'll have the parents go on a media tour. And if the parents are telling all of them that that's the guy, no one's going to question it. And it's rather, you know what? I should have summarized this in the beginning of the stream. This theory is rather, what is the motive for the investigation being so shitty? And I really think that that's how this could sum it up. This is the motive, and they purposefully made sure that it made zero sense. I pinned a comment in the video, the quick cut from yesterday's live. I posted that earlier today. I pinned a comment and somebody said, if you never want somebody to solve a puzzle, you throw 2 or 3 pieces away and you scramble the rest. You'll never solve it. You can theorize on what those pieces would look like, where they should fit, but you're never going to know. And I believe that is what this case was designed to do. Right. But if you think about the CODIS thing, like, guys, they still, how can I say this? They were able to get the point of IGG across. They don't care about that in a way. I don't think they care about that because now they have Stacey Chapin at CrimeCon talking on behalf of Othram. They have pre-crime detection in Palantir, and they have post-crime IGG DNA solidification with Othram. Yeah, they're hiding the truth between 2 lies. And Sharon, yes, I think too, we need to address this. If you were running the local police department, would you want to open up that can of worms? Hell no. Who here would want to open up the area night can of worms as the local law enforcement in that area when you know damn well that as soon as the media dies down, you guys are all probably going to have to be sleeping with one eye open and a finger on the trigger under your pillow. with how much power they probably held out there and connected they are. That would be a job for the FBI to run cover on. Yeah, exactly. It's like at a certain point, human instinct comes into play, and maybe a bigger force like the FBI should take the charge on that. Hard pass. It's like Randy Jackson in American Idol was like, yeah, that's a no from me, dog. I think that's a great question, Kate. What do you guys think if Mowich didn't die? Would Brian Koberger would Brian Koberger even be in the picture if Mowich didn't die? I don't disagree, Lucas. They could have just been a bunch of incompetent cops that were scrambling around to catch a killer, but I don't think that explains the media and the narrative push. I don't think that it explains all the sealing and the redacting and the references to national security and the IGG and then breaking their own guidelines and Taylor not being able to get chain of custody. That's not that. I don't know if that's incompetent comps or just an entire system made to look incompetent to seal it. And they made it look like a shit investigation. Because we're all diving into, this is the worst investigation ever. This is crazy. And they're keeping us distracted ultimately, right? They're slowly releasing it out. Excuse me. I mean, it's very obvious that their evidence does not point to Brian Koberger. I mean, it's not just incompetence, it's deceitful. Yeah, and again, yep, I know we got to get the technicalities right. To be honest, I don't want to say that you could sum it up with just like saying the gangs, right? I know there's differences, but wouldn't that be nice, Sharon? Wouldn't that be nice? If you're incompetent, you should be shut down. I mean, who here thinks that Brian Koberger is going to get out of jail? Type of 1, if you think Brian will be exonerated. Type of 2, if you think he will quietly disappear into the shadows, either with some sort of headline of being Epsteined, or he will just take it out of the news forever. 1 or 2. You guys think he'll be exonerated? Ooh, that is split. Wow. That might be one of the most split polls we've ever done. I was also trying to theorize on this entire house. And isn't it kind of odd that all the parents have some sort of ties to the same group, and flipping on them that they might have been, caught snitching. So this is a hit on the kids, right? I was saying yesterday, if you weren't in the Hive, I was saying, what if we were planning an investigation into the gang network out there with low-level informants, what would our entry point be? And I believe if we were to use the girlfriend of the son of the dude that is in that gang, that is a few layers removed, and we could ultimately start to meet some people that might work directly with that girl's boyfriend's dad. So if we look at it like Dylan, roommates or somebody else buddies up with Dylan's boyfriend, who allegedly never goes over there or some shit. You don't think that his dad hasn't told him, hey, stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, don't befriend random people, you never know. Do you think he'd ever suspect his girlfriend's friends? I don't know. I feel like that's a reasonable entry point of trying to get a couple layers removed. Yeah, and Kaylee pretending to be FBI. That's right. I remember that video. And for all we know, to Tony's point, for all we know, yeah, the feds and Herbert are involved, and it's possible Koberger's absolutely effed. There's also that possibility. But I feel like I've looked into many things like this, and when there are 90 different directions that it can go to, and they're apparently giving us all this transparency and none of it still makes any damn sense, well, that is by design. That's a good question. Does anybody know if Dylan is still with her boyfriend? Is it Quinn, right? Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. Kenyan Tanka, I don't think you're wrong at all. It's simple. It does involve an inner circle and money talks. Don't step on the feet of your superiors. Never let them know what you know. Yeah. No, they broke up. I mean, again, I'm not saying that that's like, the world's most compelling theory when it comes to the actual crime, but rather it was meant to be a compelling theory on, okay, if we look at the timeline from the crimes happening to Mowich in the hospital to the first press conference to then Mowich dying to a day after that, that's when Othram had said they allegedly had Koberger's DNA within 5 days. It's like they're just plugging Koberger's name in for somebody, is what this theory was meant to do. Yeah. No, but they've given the illusion of transparency. That's for damn sure. They have not actually given it. Like I said, I mean, you can open up X a couple of days ago and see Charlie Kirk getting shot in the neck and blood going out everywhere. And we have no choice to see that. That's just on your feed scrolling through randomly. And then we get told for crime scene photos for police corruption that no, we're not allowed to see it. And it's weird. And why would people want to? So it's just like they'll put all that randomly into the algorithm, but then we have to listen. It's like, don't insult our intelligence. Okay. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of my intelligence being insulted with this case. I'm sick of how people's true intelligence and IQ points show with the ability to critical think. We don't even have to all agree. And I'm not talking about anybody in the Hive per se. I'm talking about just like on the internet. I don't care if we all don't agree in here. I'm just trying to hang out and converse and think about other ways that this could have happened because nothing makes sense about it. And, the other crazy thing, and I don't want to sidetrack too much on this, dude, there's some crazy shit with that Charlie Kirk shit coming out too. I saw somebody ask me in the Discord, are you going to cover this? And I kind of like hadn't really looked into it much just because of how kind of honestly, how graphic and gruesome it was. It's like hard to really try to see stuff around it. I don't want to like see this dude getting his neck blown out, 900 times as I'm searching in the background if somebody's moving around or stuff, but there's some shit going on in the background. These people, the signals, it's pretty insane. And so there's a lot that's not adding up with this Kirk thing. And I do think that this would be something that I would want to cover because again, just like when we cover anything, it's not necessarily in regards to the political nature of it, but into the regards of look at what the news and the FBI are trying to tell us. Come on. The stuff about the gun and him, having to, break it down and then put it back on and then have the scope be perfectly lined up from 200 yards down. It's just crazy to me. Nothing makes sense in the case. And some of the videos after the fact now that I'm seeing, I'm like, this is just, again, has the news gotten lazy with making things seem legitimate? Not necessarily the shooting and stuff, which that's a rabbit hole though. You guys know me. We can go down a rabbit hole. We go down a deep rabbit hole on that one, and maybe we should. Is that something that you guys would be interested in? Do you guys think that that would be a topic that you guys would want to do? I saw somebody asking in the Discord, and I haven't really talked much about that, but I would be curious if that would be something. Looking into who is this person? Where did he come from? Is he a fall guy? Is he this? Is he that? I think that would be a really good. I think this would be a great place to do it, just because again, we don't have to agree on anything else other than just none of this makes sense. And what's your theory? So I think it's a perfect. This is the perfect kind of structure for conversations and topics like that. I just wanted to kind of let it settle down for a little bit, full transparency, and get some kind of get an understanding myself. Just scrolling around on X, and I think it'd be interesting. But yeah, there's no way that's the gun that was used. Have you guys seen the dude in the white shirt standing by the lady in the phone? That he's like twitching kind of like this, and it almost looks like he shoots him from the, if I'm Charlie, it almost comes from like over that side directly at the same angle. Yeah, I don't disagree, Betty. We need step-by-step facts because I'm confused after so much research in the bright. And you know what? Let me actually put that comment back up by Betty. Betty, I appreciate the honesty, top dog comment, because if I'm being honest, shit, there's times I get confused too. I have consumed so much information that my head spins. I think there's a lot of people in here that probably feel that same way. And would any of us be surprised if that wasn't their goal? If that wasn't their damn goal to get us to have our head spinning, not being able to keep all this shit straight, they did a really, really good job at doing it. So I want to move on to the tinfoil hat conspiracy of the day. This is a highly requested one. Is Garth Brooks, the famous country singer, a serial killer? And it kind of makes the song "I Got Friends in Low Places" hit a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. Mr. Garth Brooks is a creepy dude, to say the least. After watching this, that is certainly my opinion on it now.
Today we delve into the mysterious persona of Garth Brooks, the highest-selling solo artist of all time, known for his charm and musical genius. But behind the fame and fortune lurks a shadow of speculation, whispers of a darker secret haunting the country music legend. In the late 1980s, Garth Brooks rose to stardom with a string of blockbuster albums, including his self-titled debut, Garth Brooks, followed by No Fences, Roping the Wind, Beyond the Season, The Chase, and In Pieces. But during this rise, a sinister coincidence emerged. Missing person reports escalated on a steady incline. Was this mere happenstance or something more sinister? Some theorists suggest that within Garth's album titles lies an eerie code, whispering of horrors unimaginable. The year 1998 saw a harrowing peak in missing person reports across the United States, coinciding eerily with the release of Garth's album Sevens. With its overt reference to the biblical 7 deadly sins, could it be a cryptic admission of remorse for the havoc caused by a hidden truth? Following the release, a sharp decline in missing person incidents raised more questions than answers. But the mysteries did not end there. In 1999, a slight uptick in missing person cases emerged as Garth Brooks unveiled his alter ego, Chris Gaines. Some theorists believe that Chris Gaines is not just a persona, but a separate identity that Garth Brooks might be concealing. Could Chris Gaines be the embodiment of a darker, sinister persona, a revelation of Garth's deeply concealed demons? Following that, a notable and remarkable decline in missing persons became evident, seemingly suggesting that the reign of terror had finally subsided. However, during the period spanning from 2009 to 2013, Garth held a residency in Las Vegas, which offers a plausible explanation for this phenomenon, as his presence was confined to a specific location. In 2013, Garth Brooks breaks new ground on a Nashville mansion, boasting a sizable 5,551 square feet. And what about the album, Blame It On My Roots, released the same year? A combination of cover songs and originals, conspicuously lacking a spike in the missing persons. Could the title Roots be a reference to the dark secrets buried in the basement of his mansion? Conspiracy theorists raise an unsettling hypothesis. With the average casket size around 13 square feet, They speculate that the foundation could conceal the remains of 427 souls. As the pieces of this disturbing puzzle fall into place, we uncover a chilling connection in the song choices. Act naturally, unwound, don't close your eyes, you ain't going nowhere, hold on, I'm coming, shout, and hauntingly, friends in low places. Could these songs conceal deeper meaning, or are they mere innocent coincidences? In a shocking twist, after investigating strange behaviors on the podcast Your Mom's House in 2018,
what's going on is he's thinking about all the bodies he's got stacked in fucking graves on his in his
You think
yard.
he's a killer?
100%. He's probably killed 200-300 people in his life.
It's a good cover.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think so.
I want to go with it. Just a dash of Asperger's.
missing person numbers plummeted to an all-time low, the lowest in 3 decades. Was it a divine intervention or mere whim of fate? Are the missing person reports a coincidence, or is there malevolent truth lurking beneath the surface?
I'd love to be a bad
Oh,
guy. No, you don't want to be a
This
bad
is
guy.
creepy.
No. I mean, you look like a good guy, you know?
Okay, I guess I'd rather kill somebody.
Oh, you're right.
That'd be fun. Sure.
Oh, you know, so he must have this hidden mean streak that we can't see. You're talking about Nashville.
No, thank you. I'll tell you that much. That dude said he'd rather kill somebody way too seriously. Yeah, where are the bodies, G? I want to real quick. I want to read lyrics to I got friends in low places. All right. Here are the lyrics. I got friends in low places. I've never looked at these actually. Blame it all on my roots. I showed up in my boots and ruined your black tie affair. The last one to know, the last one to show. I wish the last one you thought you'd see there. I was the last one you thought you'd see there. And I saw the surprise and fear in his eyes when I took his glass of champagne and I toasted you, said, honey, we may be through, but you'll never hear me complain. Because I got friends in low places where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away, and I'll be okay. Yeah, I'm not big on social graces. Think I'll slip on down to the oasis. Oh, I've got friends in low places. Well, I guess I was wrong. I just don't belong. See, it's weird. I can't read these without singing it in my head, and I'm sure as hell not about to sing this for the Hive, but I wish I could play the song, except I can't because of this damn copyright thing. But what's the weirdest line? But, well, I guess I was wrong. I just don't belong. But then I've been there before. Everything's all right. I'll just say goodnight and I'll show myself to the door. Hey, I didn't mean to cause a big scene. Just give me an hour. And then, well, I'll be as high as that ivory tower that you're living in. Because I got friends in low places where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away, and I'll be okay. I'm not big on social graces. Think I'll slip on down to the oasis. Oh, I've got friends in low places. And it goes over and over and over again. Interesting. Huh. You know, I feel like Garth Brooks would be that type of dude where like the first letter in every lyric line would line up to spell a word. You know what I mean? Like, what if it's spelled out like fucking victims' names? Sorry for the F-bomb, but what if that just, how trippy would that be if like every line started with like, she said that in that interview snippet you just played, that he would put his victims' songs or victims' names in the songs. Carol, you don't think Garth is a serial killer? I don't know. I feel like there's so much stuff about like the people that go missing every time that he's on tour. If the missing bodies like flow along with his tour schedule. exactly like city to city. No, you don't think so? No, I know he didn't exactly write this song, of course. I'm just out here thinking out loud. So you guys, so it seems like there are some people. I think this might be a little bit of the age gap with the Hive here, and it's not a bad thing. I'd be curious, Hive. Type of 1, if you think Garth Brooks is allegedly a serial killer. Type of 2, if not. And I'd be curious if there's probably going to be people that are maybe older and saw the come up compared to maybe a little bit younger, and see if there's a difference in this. This is all in good fun. See, it's pretty split. It's pretty split. Oh, Monique, you know him? He's not a serial killer? Well, I'm saying this nicely, but I would ask a question. Have there been other people that have turned out to be serial killers where people said, I knew him, I would have never guessed? And I think there's probably a few, right? That's the whole thing about the ability for serial killers to blend in, not get caught. Yeah, or at least this. Yeah, I've heard enough Garth Brooks songs as well to know he must have sold his soul to the devil to get this popular. Ain't no such thing as an organic superstar, like worldwide superstar. At least not back in that day, it didn't seem. Especially pre-internet. You needed to know somebody. You needed to do something. They needed to have some dirt on you if they were going to be pushing your stuff out there that much. Oh, I know. I get it. People love Garth Brooks. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. He does have great songs. It's just the tinfoil hat conspiracy of the day. I don't mean to get everybody all riled up. I just think that that was one that was requested a lot, and I mean, it was getting talked about on Rogan's show, which was kind of mind blowing. So, all right. Well, anyways, Hive, I hope everybody has a great rest of their Sunday evening. This week, so tomorrow, I have Devil's Advocates who's going to be on the stream, and then I have a very exciting announcement. Guess who will be joining us in the Hive on Wednesday night? A highly requested guest over from TikTok, and I will give you guys a clue. It is not Garth Brooks, and this person's name rhymes with rooking with D. So booking with B, it will be in the Hive on Wednesday evening, which is going to be awesome. So we were chatting earlier today, and we are going to get that dialed in. So rooking with D. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of came up with that on the spot. So yeah, that's going to be a great one. I'm very excited to chat with her. She seems extremely knowledgeable, and I love the way that she takes her time and explains her theories and goes into what doesn't add up, and just kind of isn't afraid to have people in her comments telling her to shut up or anything like that. So I think she will get along great with the Hive. I don't know if B tunes in and watches the stream, but we will for sure have a good one lined up on Wednesday night. That'll be at our normal time at 7 Central. Just like we always are. And then, like I said, tomorrow night, Devil's Advocates on. Tuesday is open right now. Wednesday's booking with B. Thursday, Sammy T. Friday, live dig. And so the schedule is pretty much going to be pretty similar to normal. So anyways, I hope you all have a great night. I'm not going to lie. I cannot believe that I did not hit a vape for a stream, and I'm not trying to over dramatize that. I don't know the last time, unless I've been sleeping, that I haven't that I've gone an hour and a half even prior. I don't even know when I started. So, wow. So thank you guys for, I guess helping me out with that too and encouraging me. I genuinely, it does help. It really does help. So I want to make the Hive proud. I got to get off this vaping shit. So, all right. I hope you guys have a great night. Sleep good, everyone. Cheers.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.